Hi, my name is Judith Ancer and I'm a psychologist in Johannesburg. Like you, I wake every morning to find a world unfamiliar and strangely silent. The changes and challenges of the last 2 weeks were unimaginable even 3 weeks ago. Our leaders remind us that we are in unprecedented and extraordinary times, and that the only way to stop the spread of this pandemic is to stay at home and be in lockdown. But being in lockdown brings changes and huge uncertainty and loss. And while some of these losses are small and inconsequential and will pass, some of these losses are very, very painful to bear. I think particularly of those people who live on their own, or those who are particularly vulnerable because of their age or because of ill health. I think also of those who are very uncertain about their businesses, the future of their careers, their economic status. These are difficult times for us all. There are celebrations and tragedies that will be dealt with on our own. And there are family Pesach Seders that won't happen this year. Here in South Africa, we are still in the early stages of the pandemic. This is a stage characterized by a waiting, by the persistent underlying hum of dread. Our health minister says we need to brace ourselves for the pounding that is going to come in the next few weeks, when numbers of ill people increase. And our health systems and our healthcare professionals have to prepare themselves for this pounding that will come. And us in our community, we have to prepare ourselves psychologically for what we will need to face in what is likely to be a prolonged period of a change that we will need to endure. Of course, what makes it difficult to cope with the lockdown is that we are all in a sense of anxiety and uncertainty, and that when we are in prolonged states of uncertainty and stress and trauma, our minds tend to freeze and our bodies take strain. Excess stress hormones for prolonged periods of time create body aches, body pain, poor sleep. They dysregulate our feelings so that we are less in control of our emotions, and what you might see are people with increased irritability, increased outbursts of aggression, tearfulness, even panic. I think what's most important is to acknowledge that it is not abnormal to feel worried or fearful at this time. I would be a hypocrite to tell you not to worry. Everybody who knows me knows that I like a good worry. But to be in a state of consistent and persistent fear is unhelpful. So the first strategy to use is to acknowledge and name that we are feeling fear, and to trust that in naming it, we can allow the fear to pass through us. One of the ways we can help the fear pass through us is to tell other people how we are feeling. But I warn you that it's not helpful to go on and only ever talk about coronavirus and your fear. Firstly, you'll be very, very unpopular during lockdown. But we know that being unable to shift out of a narrative of fear creates more fear and more anxiety and more stress. So how can you shift from that state of fear? Well, the one strategy that can help is something that we call self-distancing. And that's a fancy way of saying self-talk. Distancing strategies always help a person not feel so immediately affected by an emotional event. They're strategies for giving you psychological distance. So self-talk at the most basic level is talking to yourself, aloud or silently, in the third person, and giving yourself encouragement and support in a way that you would to any person that you care about. So my self-talk in anticipation of this message was, everybody will be kind to you because they know you're in lockdown and you're not perfect. Another important idea when the future feels overwhelming is to move away from thinking about the long-term or even the medium-term future and just think about the now. And that is an idea called the next right thing. So what is the next thing you need to do? You can't fix everything. You can't deal with everything. You can only do the next thing that you need to do. And that might be to WhatsApp a friend, make a cup of tea, take something out of the freezer to defrost, go and do some star jumps in your lounge. Or if you're feeling overwhelmed, to call one of the social services or counseling services that are available to help you cope during this process. So simply think about what is the next right thing to do. Other useful techniques that allow you to gain a sense of calm and to allow you to feel more contained are mindfulness techniques like meditation or prayer, or making or fixing things, whether it's cooking, gardening, cleaning, listening to music, singing, dancing, or looking up videos of cats on YouTube. Always look up videos of cats on YouTube. Things like noticing the beauty in the present. It's a beautiful tree outside, whether it's a beautiful tree outside your window or a beautiful song that you've listened to. The cliche of the lockdown, of course, is that social or physical distancing is not the same as social disconnection or social isolation. Now more than ever, social connectedness is important, and there are ways to do that, whether it's by a phone call, a text, an email, so whether you meet people in cyberspace, or whether you go internal and write a letter that you've always wanted to write to someone, even if they're no longer around to read it. Whether it's connecting with yourself and journaling, whether it's just taking time out to think and remember the special memories of somebody who's loved but gone. All of those connections are important for making you feel connected to other people and for building social and emotional resilience. It is obvious, but worth repeating, that self-care is not an indulgence, it is a necessity, it is essential. And some of the strategies for being in the moment, like singing and dancing and eating good food, are important ways that we look after ourselves. They release feel-good hormones and enhance our immunity. A real warning, though, is not to marinate yourself in the panic of social media. There is too much information, fake news, alarms, and alerts. And research tells us that marinating yourself in this panic does nothing to help your mental well-being. Of course, good, accurate information is important, but give yourself a kind of social media budget. Check your social media stats around Corona twice a day, and then use social media for those cute videos of puppies or kittens or beautiful gardens to go through. Whatever it is that makes you feel better, but don't immerse yourself only in the pandemic. In preparing my ideas for this talk, I was drawn again and again to the brilliance of Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and a survivor of the Holocaust, who himself was no stranger to terrible, terrible suffering and loss. And he said that one way to cope with suffering and loss is to acknowledge that our life's job is to find meaning in our life. And he says that we are all driven to a search for meaning, that meaning is basic to our human experience, and that the meaning is there in our lives. We don't have to go out and make meaning. We have to find the meaning that's already in our lives. And he says that there's meaning in three particular areas. There's meaning in what we take from life. He called that the creative values. Sorry, let me start that again. There's meaning in what we give to life, the creative values, what we make, what we give, what we create, what we do, our jobs, raising children, being needed, being of use. We all get that. But as meaningful and as important is that there's meaning in what we take from life, the experiential values, what we experience. There's meaning in our memories, there's meaning in beauty, there's meaning in experiences, especially of awe. Frankl says that the greatest experiential value is love, being loved and giving love. And for those people who are not in a position to look after others or be needed, there is meaning in allowing other people to look after you and allowing other people to take care of you. The final area where we find meaning is in our attitude to suffering that we cannot change. If there is suffering that we can change, Frankl says we must. If we can get therapy for our depression or take medication for our ulcer, we need to do that. There are no prizes for martyrs. But if there is suffering that we cannot change, a lockdown that we cannot leave, then all we can change is our attitude. All we have the freedom to change is about how we feel about the situation. Frankl never says that this is easy or simple. It may be a life's work to change ourselves. He makes the point that during the Holocaust, we could never predict the behavior of any individual and could make few generalizations about what it means to be human. But he noted that the moment that suffering becomes meaningful, it loses its unbearable quality and becomes another one of life's tasks, which offers a special and great challenge and reward. If you are still in a state where you're unable to put these ideas into practice, if you feel overwhelmed, if you feel unable to cope, if you can't still your mind or manage your anxiety, and if you are unable to find any meaning in the situation you are in, please reach out to the resources that are made available by our community. There are many and various sources of help, and there is no shame in needing extra assistance, especially at this time. To those on the front line and those in our community, we thank you for your service and for what you are doing. And to those in our community, I wish you all the best, to be well. And I look forward to saying when this is all over, "Oi, was that a strange and difficult time?" And I really look forward to saying next year, may we be free to celebrate Pesach together. Thank you.